All right, hello, SpeedGaming. We've got our first round of the ALTTP Randomizer Hybrid Major Glitches Tournament. nashsauter, the 18th seed, versus MrByer, the 15th seed, who, despite his name, has not actually gotten a bye past the first round. I'm Ajder, and I'll be calling this race. So we're gonna see some major glitches action. Gonna get a boot start as always, so that we can have immediate access to a lot of the boots clipping that's fundamental to moving around in this. And we're going to be off very shortly. If you haven't seen this mode before, we've done a couple weeks of qualifiers leading up to the bracket, but it's kind of a mix of the overworld glitches that we've had a tournament for over the past 2 years. This is the third glitch tournament, and this time we're doing hybrid, and it's a pretty new logic. So classically, there's been overworld glitches and major glitches on the website, and then of course no logic. But okay, we're starting in Link's house. Probably gonna go see what's on the island, because I can't actually go pick that up. But this logic is going to introduce some of the underworld clipping as well. Just 10 arrows on the island. I think some people like to go to Sahasrara after this. It looked like MrByer is actually going to try to set up a clip to get a ledge jump to fake flipper to hobo from here. There's kind of a particular one where you go flying. Yeah, there he goes. Some bombs on the hobo. Zaha is a hook shot. That's very nice. So hook shot's still required for swamp. Some of the other requirements you normally see are a bit negotiable. Usually depending on like ways to access the dungeon, but we still need hookshot to access the back of swamp. And now they're both going to go to Bonk Rocks. Nash is going to skip checking Lumberjack. Oh, I think Byer is going to skip it as well. This is kind of interesting. I think I see at least most people that I've seen do the check kind of immediately. In non-glitch modes, when you don't immediately have boots, sometimes people wait to do it until you get boots. But it can be pretty dangerous not knowing what it is, because it's really hard to route in the check later. Since a lot of the movement methods you'll be using don't really have to go past that. But also, actually, there is a way to do the Death Mountain Ascent clip that is near the Lumberjack, so if people prefer that method, then... oh, actually, I see. You know what? Nash is going to route in Lumberjack after, and then probably do the Lumberjack method of Death Mountain Ascent. Yeah, it looks like that's what they're both doing. I'm just unfamiliar with some of the routes some people take in this, so I'd assumed otherwise. I didn't completely catch it, but I think it was nothing. So MrByer is going to do the Lumberjack version of Death Mountain Ascent that I mentioned. There's like 3 or 4 different ways to clip up here. The Lumberjack method is pretty neat, because you end up all the way up top here, and you can get the Spec Rock peaks really quickly. So we see not a lot on here. I do like the green grass palette on Death Mountain. So Nash is just going to do the more standard way that gets used in restricted major glitches speedruns these days. And so MrByer has clipped into Hera, and it does get the big key. Actually, that's not guaranteed. The logic can expect you to, I believe, Herapot is an option in logic, but the other thing it can expect you to do is clip into Hera from MrByer. So on diagonal walls, you can one of the things you can do is induce either downward or upward teleports. And I think the game does some weird math when you're at certain pixels in a slope, because it has trouble calculating the results of like diagonal movement. But what you can do is some of the spots you can downward teleport in will kick you over to remove another dungeon. And so one of the things that HMG can expect you to do is clip from Mire to Hera to Swamp. Hera to Swamp by itself is possible too, but generally not on logic because it usually makes use of the Hera small key, and that can be wasted. So the logic will assume that you waste it and can't use it generally. Okay, so I'm being told that Herapot's actually not in logic. That's really good for myself to know because I actually wasn't sure. Only underworld one-frame clips is turned on. So that actually also means that the right side of Palace of Darkness is still logically bow-locked. So Nash going and doing the same flip to hobo from the ledge. Byer doing a graveyard ledge flip, which is a pretty weird one. You have to jump off in a very particular way to avoid getting the auto walk transition and just get a regular one instead. And interesting thing is the I don't know the specifics of this very well, but it does get you a Houlihan. I think Nash actually did the Houlihan as well. I wasn't quite paying attention. So Nash going to Kakariko and Byer going to South Shore, presumably. Byer picked up a shovel from somewhere that I didn't quite see where it was from, but other than that... Oh, the half magic from the well for Nash is nice. Oh, shovel was Hera basement, that's interesting. Okay, so... but really, mainly the hookshot on Nash's side from Sahasrara is kind of the only progression item that we have, and I'm not entirely sure that the hookshot even technically unlocks anything this early, because you'd normally think about using it to go to East Death Mountain, but we can just use Boots Clips to get over there. Or getting a sword out of Mini Muldrum Cave. So some of the clips use dash buffering into walls, or into slopes in particular. But some of them also make use of super speed and being able to clip through a corner just by having the super speed state. So being able to use spin dash with the sword now gives MrByer a way he can get super speed in addition to the hook shot that Nash has. So now they can both get it for whatever that's worth. It does help with a few clips. So Nash clipping into desert from the top, which is a pretty common play in this. And Byer taking a water walk to Zora, finding the hammer in the waterfall cave. So these minor glitches, part of the overworld glitches logic, are enabled. So that we're pretty much still seeing Sphere 1 checks here. There's just a really, really large number of Sphere 1 checks in glitch logic. Okay, so nothing too good on Zora itself, and I don't think the ledge is good either. There is a clip to get up to that one too. It's pretty weird. Okay, so now MrByer is doing the King's Tomb early, which is that's one of my favorite glitches conceptually. It's basically you land inside the bush, so that when you try to pick up the black rock that you're supposed to have Titan's Mitts for, the game sees that you're inside a bush and that you're able to pick up the bush, so it lets you pick up the black rock. And Nash just did one of those super speed clips, arming super speed with the hook dash. So Agena, K45, and Checkerboard Cave are kind of all in accessible kind of by the same corners. Bombos Tablet as well. Checkerboard Cave still needs a glove. So that makes it pretty interesting isolation, usually. And Bottle in Agena's Cave. So Bottle's still needed for a sick kid. So usually the item requirements that are simply the game checking for you to have an item, those are usually not bypassable. So stuff like still needing sick kid, still needing a bottle for sick kid, get that check. And I don't really think there are ways, there are really faster ways to get to Kakariko with glitches, at least not from the general save and quit points that are already used, so. It's usually not that desirable to just walk back there for that check. Chicken clip from MrByer. Actually, hunting it really hard with the poke coming out of the doorway. So Nash is going to get his sword out of an Emerald Cave here. Quite a lot of clearing Sphere 1. With this rule set, we're able to do it pretty efficiently, and Sphere 1 has a lot of items. So for Dark World access, we're looking for mainly Moon Pearl or Mirror for logic. So Moon Pearl will just let you do a pretty standard boots clip to do Death Mountain descent. With the Mirror, there's a mirror clip that lets you get off the mountain in logic as a bunny, and then you might actually have to use the mirror to you might actually have to use the mirror in doorways, I think, to search houses for Moon Pearl in the Dark World. I'm actually not 100% sure on that one, but I think so. But there can be some fairly nasty Moon Pearls in this. Moon Pearl can be in way worse spots in just the full-on major glitches mode. I think that mode allows everything except for exploration glitch. So there's like a lot of YBAs, transition corruptions, and such in that mode. A lot of kind of memorizing doorways to glitch between dungeons and data swap chests and such. So Nash, seeing the Zora item, making sure to not have it land on top of him so that he gets to keep his water rock state, is going to just walk out the front of Zora's instead. And I guess I'm not that familiar with this clip. Okay, so this is another Death Mountain Descent method. Zora DMA. Is this Mimic Cave clip that he's trying to do? Or is it just for general access? It seems like it's just for general access. Okay, Spiral Cave. There is a way to get to Mimic Cave from there as well, but it kind of dead ends you because you can't really get out. So now we have MrByer going over to the desert area. Nash getting the mirror from Paradox Cave. So that is Dark World access. It's not a very comfy Dark World access. It's going to be tough to do much of anything in it, but yeah, there would be a lot of things that aren't open. Because Bunny can't really use bombs. I guess Nash also has the ability to fake flute with the blue potion YBA. Which I think I'm not sure. I want to say there's a way to get a link state by pulling on the Thief's Town grate or something like that by using a fake flute for like fake Light World, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Oh, I haven't seen that one before. Nash just did an upward teleport to skip the hammer pegs, get back on the bridge towards Hera. I've never seen that one before, that's pretty cool. So one of the ways to get Super Bunny, which is the glitch state that lets you open chests as a bunny and swing your sword and such, is to use the mirror on the same frame as you enter a doorway in Dark World. And the way that you do the portal displacement to get into the Pyramid Fairy wall without blowing it up, I believe actually counts as that. So it just lets you open the chests as a bunny. So now she's able to do the Haripot here. Because of having that hookshot from Sahasrara. Which is going to be a potential advantage for him for probably a while, because with a lot to do, MrByer might not get back to that area until getting maybe the bow or the flute. Actually, maybe deciding to do Kiki skip to pod without even maybe without the bow, and then being able to mirror for that entrance maybe would be a way that he would go to that area. Okay, so MrByer doing a light world Death Mountain descent to get to that potion shop quickly. Filling up a blue, so probably going to use it for a fake flute. As Nash gets the first crystal of the match from Oldworm. Okay, MrByer clipping downwards from that screen to get to eastern area. Okay, so this is another way to get here. There are lots of ways to get places generally. Some of them are hard to think of. But it's also, it can be hard to predict where the runners go sometimes just because there's so many options. Walls are usually more of a suggestion. So Nash going for the Graveyard Ledge clip and messed it up. It looks like. Actually, I'm not sure. That might have been a DMD attempt, but I can't think of why you would do a DMD here. Yeah, it was. I think it was Graveyard Ledge attempt. Yeah, okay. So attempting Graveyard Ledge is going for the King's Tomb. You have to do these one at a time because by the time you've done either of these checks, you've jumped off a point that's useful for doing the other one. So Tamp's pointing out there's no small key available in Hera, I think. So it can logically just lock itself, like the one-to-one key logics that you see in some other dungeons like Pod and Beast Town. The inability to access it means that we can't use it in Swamp later, so we don't have it available. So there's one option you can do. Meanwhile, it looks like Nash is going to start Dark World adventures. Oh no, never mind. Nash is doing Pyramid Fairy. So Nash jumped off the bottom of the screen in the light world and did not fix the position. So jumping off the bottom of a screen, like screen wrapping it, unfortunately has a fairy trying to death warp. So you need to death warp to get out of this to preserve your mirror portal. But basically, with Link's local and global coordinates desynced from the screen wrap, your mirror portal will appear at the new global coordinate and not where it looks like Link is on the screen. So that's what allows you to get into Pyramid Fairy. So it looks like so MrByer does have the mirror. It looks like instead of using it to mirror wrap or mirror clip for Death Mountain Descent, is going to try and do a manual Death Mountain Descent with no boots clip, with just one frame movement, says the bunny. I think there was nothing much in Pyramid Fairy. So this version of DMD is faster than doing the mirror clip and such, if done right. The mirror clip itself requires quite a bit of setup. And Fire Rod at the Uncle Passage chest, which this part of the game, despite being available right away, can be left pretty late. It's kind of hard to get everything ticked off in Sphere 1, just because Sphere 1 encompasses so much of the game in this mode. But MrByer is going to be looking for a Moon Pearl or something leading to the Moon Pearl in the Dark World here. So I was able to use the mirror to get Super Bunny State inside that house. I believe getting damaged... so taking a hit on the same frame as you enter a doorway also works for getting Super Bunny State. And I think that is in logic for the areas where you have access to an enemy that deals less than 3 hearts of damage. So it wouldn't logically expect a mirror here, for instance. Kana Samaria in the chess game for Byer. But yeah, so basically the distinction is it's not in logic in the Meyer area because the only available enemy there deals 3 hearts. And the logic doesn't keep track of your hearts. Oh, Aetheron's sick kid. So medallions are kind of weird in this mode. You almost never need the Turtle Rock medallion because there are several ways to clip into it. Wow, both rods in this area for Nash. Ice Rod in Zelda Cell, and Fire Rod from Uncle Passage. Although I feel like that Ice Rod might actually have been harder to find if the Fire Rod wasn't kind of close to this area. So the Fire Rod being here might actually be good for MrByer. It might get him to come here earlier. And Nash going to check Dark Cross, which is put in logic by being able to light the torches with the Fire Rod. So 300 rupees in Dark Cross, not fully necessary. So MrByer's exploring Skull was a bit using Dungeon Bunny Revival, which is pretty simple. Just walk into the dungeon as a bunny and die and get revived. So it's very convenient that they have the mirror, because what happens if you die in the Dark World without Aghanim 1 defeated is the game tries to kick you back to the Light World, but since you still respawn in the dungeon, you'll still be in the dungeon, but in Light World. So now MrByer's in a state that is known as Fake Dark World, where the variable that's controlling the world technically says he's in the Light World, and that's why you see that the plots are showing as Light World plots on screen instead of the skulls. But as soon as he tries to do a screen transition, the game will put him back on a Light World screen. Now, the good thing about having the mirror is that he can just use the mirror to go back to the real Dark World and fix that glitch. And that glitch is actually patched out of the non-glitched rando modes. It's kind of an artifact of the vanilla game. It's specifically left in for the glitch logics. And Moon Pearl was in Super Bunny the whole time. So I can actually kind of agree with leaving the Dark Death Mountain area for later. So a lot of times you won't want to come here without Hookshot. But they have Hookshot, but without the Moon Pearl, they had no way to use it for the checks in Hookshot Cave. So it's actually a little bit annoying that the Moon Pearl's here in that case. Nash, not having the glove, is going to do a screen wrap to actually get to the back entrance of Hookshot Cave. And MrByer setting up the portal displacement to get to Pyramid Ferry. I hate doing Hookshot Cave backwards like this because there's not really a good way to route in the bottom chest if you're doing it backwards. And if you're doing it forwards, it's just kind of awkward having to run all the way down first. Okay, so Tartarok is the Ether medallion, and Ether was on Sick Kid, which Nash doesn't have. Now, in a lot of cases, opening Tartarok just isn't really that important. It can be required logically, and I think I'm trying to think of if there are some situations where you might be forced to get the TR medallion, but I don't really think there are any. You can key lock yourself into requiring it, but smart use of keys, I think, can prevent ever needing it. It opens up some routing options, I think. But the real medallion that we care about is the MrByer medallion, and we haven't been in the area to see that yet. There's absolutely no way, with the glitches allowed in this rule set, to get into MrByer without the medallion. And the MrByer medallion can be super important even when MrByer's a pendant, because MrByer is one of the places that you can start the clipping chain from MrByer to Hera to Swamp. So if you don't have access to the top of Hera, then you are logically and sometimes physically required to do it from MrByer. So that MrByer medallion can become super important sometimes. Swamp Palace is interesting too, because there's kind of a... since these clips are in logic, the small key only has a 10% chance of being in the first chest, like normal. So in almost every seed, you're going to be unlocking Swamp Palace from elsewhere. Even if the key is in the first chest, it's generally not the good play to go for it. But what is a pretty good play is Nash going to Ganon's Tower. So since we can clip into GT, Ganon's Tower doesn't have the same junk fill that it does in the non-glitch modes. So there is actually quite a large chance that there are major progression items in here, since there are so many checks here. There's no waiting against stuff being here like there normally is. So as for stuff we do need, I haven't mentioned the pendant layout we have yet. So we have Green Pendant Desert. The other two pendants are Thieves' Town and Ice Palace. Ice Palace pendant is kind of interesting in this because Ice Palace is actually the only dungeon that hard requires a glove in this mode. you need a glove to pick up the block to get to Cold Stare. And also for the H room check. So there's just, but most of the glove uses in this are negotiable. So we just might be able to skip it entirely in this seed. It is pretty likely one will show up since there's 2 of them. Nash finding a Quake medallion in Random Room in GT. So that could be the Meyer medallion. But yeah, Meyer medallion is absolutely required if it's crystal, and it's almost always also logically required for swamp, even if Meyer's a pendant. Depending on the location of the hero of a small key, you might be able to skip it. Nash opening the GT big chest, which is actually something you see a lot in this mode. And it looks like MrByer is going to try and do a fake flute with the Blue Potion YBA. So this just pulls up the flute menu for not a very good reason. Oh, and Nash showing us Lotus Armos using the Cane of Burna. Cane of Burna is a pretty good option for this, since you one of the things that kills Armos the most quickly is actually level 1 sword hits, and Burna and Samaria do those. Okay, so Byer got the fake flute, is using it to get to 7. The fake flute, it always sends you to a light world screen, but it doesn't change your world state variable. So it actually put MrByer in fake light world, in contrast to the fake dark world I was talking about before. And if you don't fix that and you do screen genocide, you're in the dark world, and being in the dark world is generally more useful. So it's a pretty good way to quickly get to this area without having the conventional means of access. Finally, MrByer getting the second sword from Stumpy. And is now actually going to clip to the Meyer area, so we're finally going to see what medallion that is. So Nash could not do right side GT because of not having the Cane of Samaria. I've actually forgotten where it was. I'm going to remember as soon as somebody mentions it. Oh wow, and we do have the Quake medallion for Meyer, which Byer does not have and Nash does. So that's interesting. So MrByer can't really do a lot in this area. I actually almost forgot that he still doesn't have the pearl from Super Bunny. I was in chess game, thank you. Okay. Nash doing a screen wrap that wraps you a lot of times. When you do a screen transition afterwards, the screen that it takes you to is based on Link's global position. So if you mess up your global position by a lot, you can get down to the swamp area really fast. And a bow and height K for Nash. I think it's kind of tough for MrByer to get that without the Moon Pearl. Because when you exit the least I don't think he got it. I'm pretty sure the fake flute usages are I think it's a way of him getting to Dark World without of him getting to Dark World screens without the game checking if he has Moon Pearl. Sorry, it was hard to think of the right words for that. So yeah, he still doesn't have the Moon Pearl. So he needs to do another Dungeon Bunny revive, and then is going to walk out. Because now the game thinks Byer's in Light World, he's going to walk out and be human-like. And is going to be able to open up the back of Skullwoods with the Fire Rod. So he's going to be able to beat Skullwoods like this and get the crystal. No problems. What's interesting, though, is that the Moon Pearl can't logically be in Skullwoods. Because the abusing fake worlds does not work anymore via Death Warp once Aga 1 is defeated. So by the way the logic's written, it can't necessarily prevent you from doing that and removing your ability to abuse fake worlds in this manner, so it can't put the Moon Pearl back here. Byer having a tough Moth fight. Not sure if he has anything in potions. He used the blue to get... I think that is a death. Yeah, because he used the blue potion to fake flute, so he doesn't have it for healing purposes. So Nash has access to Meyer, since he got the Quake out of GT, but doesn't have Samaria and is choosing not to go in right away. MrByer, it's weird, because you have to kind of remember that MrByer isn't... Entering MrByer isn't just for the dungeon itself. It's also to let you do the clip chain up to Swamp. Because it would be... it can be the only way of getting the first key door in Swamp open. So there's sometimes like, oh, Byer not having a good start to that Moth fight. That went downhill pretty fast, unfortunately. But yeah, okay, Nash I think was just wanted to check Digging Game in case it was Samaria. Samaria is... where is it again? Wait, it's on Chest Game, right? Yeah, okay, that's unfortunate for him, because he was like kind of one screen south of it. And there is a clip you can do to get north to Kakariko that way, or to Village of Outcasts. So it's a little unfortunate. There's still a lot of value in being here, which is why he's in here, because this lets you get all the way to Swamp. So kind of the way that the logic wants you to use keys for the Meyer to Swamp chain is it wants you to have 3 Meyer keys to be able to unlock the Swamp door. So if the third small key is on Vitreous, that means that unless Swamp is openable from the front, most of it is lamp locked and cane locked. So Nash, from being in Meyer, is hopefully going to be able to figure out whether Cane can even be in Swamp. And I didn't see where the flippers were, actually. I think they were recent. But with the flippers, I think Nash is just Cane from... Oh, those... Wait, flippers and flute were in Hype Cave, okay. Wait, so both bow and flippers were in Hype Cave. That's actually pretty insane. That was just the last two things that we didn't know about, really. So Nash is just Kane from Go mode. And might be able to deduce whether there's a small key on Vitreous from his trip into Mire. And by that would be able to deduce if the Kane can be in Swamp. So MrByer still without a pearl. Got all the Skullwood stuff done. Actually has Front of Thieves Town open from doing a fake flute. But YBAs are not in logic in this mode. So I don't think there's any way in logic of opening the Thieves Town Grate. So I don't think that the Moon Pearl could be in there. But since he has opened a bunch of these entrances, he is going to check them. The Moon Pearl can't be in Brewery either, I'm pretty sure. Buyer knows that he's looking for Kane. Or not Kane, Quake. And Bow and Flippers, so... there is stuff besides the Moon Pearl. Not entirely sure on the viability of skipping Moon Pearl entirely. What dungeons have to be, what... I think Turtle Rock is one of the biggest obstacles for NMG, but for HMG, since you can bunny clip into the center, I think there's nothing stopping you. Okay, so Nash is going to do that clip into Hera. It gets you to the same spot as Herapot, pretty much. And then from here, can do another bomb clip through this slope to get to the room and swamp where you flood the second trench. Okay, so MrByer is finally going to get the Moon Pearl from Super Bunny Cave. From this direction, since MrByer isn't falling down a pit to achieve Super Bunny automatically that way, he does have to use the mirror trick when going in the front. So Nash having 2 keys can not worry about picking up the flooded key and just open the key in the floodgate room and the one in the door right after, and then pick up the pot key here, open the front, and just leave. And I think he has deduced that the Kane cannot be in Swamp. It did not look like there were enough keys. For it to be in logic without a key on Vitreous. So Nash going back into GT. I think this is actually a really good decision. So the runners do have to complete GT and all 7 crystals independently. And he knows that the Kane can't be in right side GT because it's hard required for that. So he's just going to climb. Unless there's like a key in tile room or something, I think the chances are pretty good that the cane can be on the climb. From his perspective, of course. So MrByer is going to now search a bunch of turtle rocks for Flipper's bow and Quake. This makes sense since having just gotten Pearl from Super Bunny Cave, this is the thing that he's right next to. He can beat the dungeon because he got the fire and ice rod. So yeah, this is a good play for him too. There's really no problems with him being here. Just doing the front of Turtle Rock is potentially going to be a time waste. I think hopefully, like, it would be good for him to have the big key up here. I think the big key has to be up here, actually. It's either up here or lava chest. It's, I think the ways of skipping directly to Laser Bridge are not in logic. I'm always really scared of chomps in glitched modes because if you're coming from behind, the penalty of dying to chomps is so much higher. And it's more awkward doing the room from the back anyways. So Byer doing the top of Turtle Rock, having entered from the middle, so it's going to be able to mirror back to the big chest once he gets the big key from here, and this should be the last place that's left for it. And then it's going to get the big chest, and then the rest of the checks on Laser Bridge. Oh, book at the top of GT. That's a little bit unfortunate for Nash. It's gonna give him 2 more things he can do that will not give him the Cane of Samaria. I feel like MrByer lost a lot of time getting that pearl so late. I think Nash is going to have a tougher time actually getting to the location of the cane or deciding to do that. Whereas I think MrByer might... Oh, it seems like a bad death for MrByer. That's actually super annoying. He has to get a magic pot here to be able to continue. Sword at Moldorm 2. That's the third one. Oh yeah, that death sucks. I think it was while navigating the dark room. But I think Byer is going to have an easier time deciding to go to Hype Cave Hype Cave is pretty much just going to be his go mode. And he's got... oh wait, no, he still needs Quake from GT. Which is not going to be a difficult place for him to decide to go either. I actually think it's... depending on how MrByer feels about routing, and how he feels about mimic clipping, he might go to GT right after doing Turtle Rock here. Since the climb is something you'll have to do anyways. The key search is something you'll have to do anyways. Doing laser skips, despite having the mirror shield. But, yeah, how often do you have mirror shield, really? Okay, Nash doing the Hera clip. If you do the Hera clip slightly wrong, it gives you a faster way to the bottom of the exit of Spec Rock Cave instead, which is the spot you do the bomb clip for Kiki Skip. So this clip gets you into Palace of Darkness. You actually wrap the bottom of the underworld map when you do this. And it causes none of the sprites to be in the dungeon. So, and it's cave state. You don't want to beat the boss in cave state anyways. So you do want to exit it. And luckily you can just hold down to snap yourself back into the entrance. It's gonna do Eastern first. The mirror portal is in a place such that it should let him touch the pod transition just fine. And MrByer took another death to Trinex. Master Sword Trinex can be tough. And there are some situations in this where you'll actually, you actually might be doing a Trinex fight without the hammer. So, so like when you're on less than tempered, in no glitches, you can sometimes kind of take the hammer for granted, rely on it. Like you're always going to have it in those cases. But in entrance, inverted, glitch seeds, you might not have that. He does have it in this case. But it is like another thing to consider. I think this is the first we're seeing of Eastern Palace, which I think it's actually pretty common to see Eastern Palace super late in these. I think it's a far less common early play than in no glitches. Like in no glitches, some people will sometimes come in here without the bow, but I feel like for glitch seeds, you kind of avoid this at all costs. So Byer using just Master Sword for the second phase of Trinex. That one I think is like not too bad to use the hammer for. I think it's not too dangerous. It's a better damage option for that. Because he was using it for phase 1 as well. So I'm kind of surprised he didn't use it for phase 2. So, beating Turtle Rock can spit you out at the front without having the mouth open. So in this case, if you want to remain in the area, you actually have to mirror, and you know, hopefully you have the hammer to open up those hammer pegs if you want to remain in the Dark World. So this is it looks like he meant to do Catfish. after this, but he didn't get the auto walk. Auto walks happen, I think, when you try and do a transition after you've landed on top of the boundary itself. And that's not what he did. I think he realized he didn't land on the boundary and then like tried to do something to recover and it didn't work. Nash getting tripped up by the last high core in Eastern a little bit. But going to clean up Armus. Oh, the boss. Get out of its cycle. So no quick kill. Has the arrows to spare at least. Okay, yeah, so MrByer came back to do the catfish DMD. I wonder if he's thinking that cave isn't a great option. I guess, like, actually, yeah, with no glove, I haven't realized this too much over the course of the match, but I think no glove to enter Dark World in more conventional ways. It's something they've had to keep in mind more heavily than usual. Even though glove isn't required for too much, you still usually see it pop up at some point. Yeah, you'll still sometimes get like a glove go mode seed, but this is one of the rare ones I've seen where you just straight up don't need one at all. And so even after you get the hammer, you still don't really have good ways to access the Dark World. There's lots of DMD stuff you can do to get to different parts of it, but they're still all kind of, you know, a few extra steps involved compared to just entering the portal like normal. So Nash clearing pod right now. I actually kind of felt like pod would be one of the more popular early game plays. But this is the first look of it. And it makes a lot of sense for Nash to be prioritizing crystal clears, which, unfortunate for him that Thieves Town is a pendant. And there's the lamp in pod. You hate to see it. Unless you're here. Alright, so MrByer got the GT big key, but crucially is going to continue to Randa Room to find his Quake. Still missing 3 items, so it makes a lot of sense to continue here. But yeah, I'm pretty curious when he gets to Hype Cave. I wonder if there's any kind of is there any deprioritizing of like really easy good areas for him because of being late to Moon Pearl? Like, I feel like he might not feel in a good position if he finds all the stuff needed in somewhere good like Hype Cave, so he might want to focus on other areas. I'm not sure. Gold Sword in Dark Maze. So MrByer's pretty much guaranteed to get tempered from the Moldorm 2 chest, but I don't think he's going to... I actually missed where Pod Big Key is, but I think it was... Yeah, no, it was before the Dark Maze, so he is probably not going to get the... MrByer isn't going to get the Gold Sword. Which is okay. Tempered is plenty good. So bow is still pretty much hard acquired for its usual things. Flippers is hard acquired to beat Swamp Palace. And they did both end up going to Ice Armos without the bow. Not too uncommon. In glitch modes. It's been pretty hard to tell who's been ahead this entire race, though. And actually, if you're just going purely by crystal count, then the Gaina's Tower Climb being done kind of messes that up a bit, too. So Nash has already done it, has 2 crystals, while Byer has 3. But Nash is also about to get a 3rd. MrByer going to Cane Locked, right side GT, which we have not seen yet. Because the other runner is missing Cane. Okay, well there's the cape. Cape is mostly useless. Don't need it for bumper ledge. That's one of the more welcome things in this, I feel, is you're passing by bumper ledge, and if you see a good item there, you know you're just going to be able to get it, no matter what. And I like not having to stress over finding a cape for that. MrByer doing a fake flute to 4. So getting to the bomb shop kind of area. Which is actually exactly where he needs to be to go to Hype Cave. It is doing... I'm actually not quite sure how this clip works in the Dark World. Okay, well, that's an interesting Hammer Bridge skip. I've noticed both runners do skipped Hammer Bridges, 2 different Hammer Bridges, in ways that weren't necessary. But yeah, Byer actually had the perfect opportunity to just go and check Hype Cave, and didn't do it. And it's like 5 items right there. I think I've seen this clip like once. I don't know how to do it, but it looked like a variation on the clip that's done to get to Hobo right away. Oh, and after getting to Hammer Pegs, because that's a thing you can do from the river, by the way, he's going to use a pretty new hook shot clip that was found. That is race legal for NMG Rando. To get through that fence without having the mitts to pick up the rock. One of the biggest uses for it being in entrance rando for no glitches. So this is kind of unfortunate that he's avoided. He's done such a good job avoiding Hype Cave. So I wonder if I was actually correct in thinking that he'd want to avoid it because it was too easy of a location. Like, I don't know, it's 5 items, but it's also really fast from the position he was in. I'm guilty of doing a lot of the if it's there, then I've lost already mentality myself. But that Hype Cave, I think, is kind of an extreme example of it. Oh, that's a good point from Tam, actually. He opened it while doing Fake Flute to make sure that he could enter it later without the Min Pearl, if at any point he felt like it. And seeing it open might have made him think that he had done it already. I make mistakes like that a lot too, like little mental mistakes like that. Just kind of autopiloting and basing some of it on like little visual things like that. But there's a lot of memory triggers, I think, that like even seconds after passing it, you might remember, oh yeah, that was open because I only blew it up, intending for it to be accessible without Min Pearl. So like I don't think it's too like that whole like hard to forget it for the whole race. So he's going to do Meyer, and he's actually still looking for more items than Nash has been looking for. Nash in the area doing Skull Woods, I think, actually at this point, is going to stumble on Kane really soon. And he is ahead in crystals at this point. So I think that he is gonna have a pretty good lead at this point. Oh, maybe not. I guess we're going to activate the flute first, which he's had that flute for quite a while and not activated it, such as the power of glitches moving him around. Hasn't done Sick Cave either, so it's probably going to dash down and do that. Going to get useless ether. So slight delay on the go mode for Nash, but it's pretty imminent. Byer could have been in go mode really fast though. After that fake flute to 4. It's hard to tell whether that would have made a difference though. I think Nash might have pulled too far ahead at that point. Is delaying the go mode for kind of as long as possible here. It's going to be the last check that he gets to in Village of Outcasts, but I'm sure he will get it. And Nash's dungeon clears from this point are not going to be as long, I think. Swamp Palace, I think he already opened. Yeah, Swamp Palace. Okay, so that's go mode for Nash. 1:13. 1 hour 13. 1 hour 14, really. So he's already opened Swamp Palace from the front. MrByer is going to be in the process of doing that after he finishes off Vitreous. But still has to do both Eastern and Odd. Turtle Rock's going to be pretty quick for Nash because he's just going to do probably a mirror wrap to get straight to... Oh, actually... Nash needs the Turtle Rock big key. And it looks like he jumped to the wrong spot after the screen wrap. Or maybe didn't intend to screen wrap at all, actually. If your next move here is Turtle Rock, you don't want to screen wrap, because you want to be able to see what you're doing when you do the boot split on the specific spot on this slope here. Specifically for if you're trying to trigger a teleport, you need to be on specific pixels. Okay, so he's going to mirror wrap. I think he doesn't have the Turtle Rock big key. Oh, was that a death to Vitreous for MrByer? That's actually surprising, because I saw him have the cape out being on 1 heart, but I still really thought that he was going to be fine in that fight. Okay, Nash also, it looks like, doing laser skips. Despite having the mirror shield. Okay, I think he realized. I'm happy that one player is using the mirror shield, at least. I would say with the equipment they've gotten this seed, boss deaths should not be any more common than normal. There are some seeds where you can get to some really bad boss fights early on, but I don't think they're super common. Like, it can happen a little bit more, but I don't think it's that significant. And I don't think it was the case this seed. So now it's going to have to go all the way backwards through Turtle Rock to get the big key from the very front. But since his entry point is at the bottom, he'll just be able to mirror straight down to the bottom after finding it. One of the best places it is for this route is to be at its vanilla location. Because that saves the most walking with this option. Did Byer have another death in the dark rooms? The initial Vidi death itself is like 2.5 minutes. It looks like he's going towards it again. So he had another death on the way. Probably like 4 minutes lost to deaths at this point. I think the saving grace, I suppose, is that I'm pretty sure he was not ahead. That is going to widen the gap, unfortunately. I don't think too many of the things MrByer did after getting Moon Pearl, in between getting Moon Pearl and the Go Mode items from Hype Cave. The GT dip was required, obviously. I don't think stuff he did in general cost too much time from that point. So I think the lateness of his Moon Pearl was already kind of the big factor. In theory, Nash could have gotten to his Cane for Go Mode much, much sooner. But there was not a whole lot of incentive to go to that area. So I think from chat I'm gathering the initial Vidi death was for Byer was from not quite killing the eyeball for in time to skip the last lightning cycle, not expecting the lightning to show up. And then uncaping. It kind of hurts to get a misread like that, where it's like you died specifically from an input that you made. Coming out of Cape is also not really free, though. It does stop you for like half a second. So you have to be careful about when you decide to do it. And generally, like, if you don't think that lightning's coming, then waiting for the big eyeball to come out is a pretty good time to do it, to make sure that you're not stopping in your tracks for half a second when it's actually chasing you. So Nash is setting up a fake float, I think. Bombing yourself towards the edge of a screen transition is a pretty common way to set this up. Unfortunately, he drank the potion too early and used it. That's worse than drinking it too late. If you drink it too late, you just don't drink it. You hit the screen transition like normal. You get to try again. So Nash is going to want to go to Swamp from here, and I suspect he's going to do the really long screen wrap on the left side of Death Mountain. MrByer doing a dash clip for the Hera to Swamp. It's a neat method that doesn't use the bomb. The bomb clip for Hair to swamp is actually pretty awkward, because the spot it puts you in usually needs like 2 upward movements to get. Oh, there's there's our first glove of the match in the front of Swamp Palace. That's pretty funny. It was actually interesting for MrByer to open these chests. It's a little bit of a risk. If he got the big key from those chests, then he might be locked out of doing the Swamp Big Chest from the correct dungeon, which means he would have to go back to Myra and clip from there to open it with the Myra Big Key instead. So finally going to Hype Cave. Actually, honestly, you know, it's a pretty good way to route in Hype Cave. Because you are doing a required thing that spits you out here. So MrByer in go mode at 124, which 10 minutes behind getting into go mode. And his go mode also was locking more dungeons behind it. So even if he'd gotten to go mode sooner, he would have had more to do afterwards. I feel like MrByer chose to take the risk to open the swamp chest and possibly absorb the swamp big key, though, because he was only looking for 2 items, and one of them was the bow, and the other one being flippers could not have logically been in swamp. Because once you flood the trenches, once you flood the second trench in particular, you can't unflood it. There's fake clippers to get around it, but it's not on logic. I'm not actually sure you can go out the front using that either. I don't think you can. I think it's just for getting to the hub room. So this is going to be over quicker than most of the go modes you might be used to seeing in no glitches, because we've already got Ganon's Tower taken care of. That's going to be the case in the Cross Keys tournament as well, generally. Okay, and Nash is going to clip over to Meyer again to get his last crystal. Has already done everything inside Meyer except for Vitreous. And traversing that part of the right side of the Swamp of Evil is pretty unpleasant. Byer having some trouble with the turtles. Oh, Byer hasn't completed the GT climb either. Because he wanted to wait on getting the bow before finishing that, presumably. So actually, yeah, it was an even longer way to go for him than I realized. I just remembered that because he doesn't have the Tempered Sword yet. Fire cleaning up Helma with arrows. Nash is going to Vitreous, but is going to have Gold Sword. And a bow, which is going to make cleaning this up very, very easy. I think if you factor out boss deaths, I think a boss death for MrByer was about 6 minutes or so. Maybe like 5.5, 6 minutes. It still really didn't change the whole race. I still think the Finding Moon Pearl 8 did more damage. And it was actually pretty interesting. I think the way that Nash got to it even was the way that he decided to go there was the Zora Death Mountain Ascent. But I think there's a lot of cases where if you have if you're one item away from being able to do Hookshot Cave, whether the item you're missing is the pearl or the hookshot itself, I feel like there's some incentive to try and avoid that area until you get the item you're missing to do it. Okay, so the winner of this match goes on to... Oh, this is the best of 3, so this isn't definitive right now, but the winner of the best of 3 will go on to face Birdie Wong, the number 2 seed. Who I believe said something like please lock in my qualifier scores before I stop getting lucky. So easy gold, silverless fight for Nash. It took 3 fire bat hits on the way out of phase 2. But if you can afford it, it's not going to be a big deal. The silvers we didn't find in Hyrule Castle. Did I realize that we didn't? Was it in? Oh yeah, it was probably in the back of Escape. Because we did see the front. That's actually pretty funny, because we didn't get a glove for basically the entire seed. We didn't have a glove until Byer picked it just before entering Go mode. Okay, so 12 spins. Nash is almost done with Ganon. There he goes. GG's. Get your GG's in chat for nashsauter. I think this is game 1 of their series. Let me check. Okay, yeah, pretty sure it's game 1. So he finishes with the race time of 1:33:53. I think we saw pretty comparable skill and experience with glitches on both sides. It looked like MrByer just had more trouble with bosses. And got, I think Nash got pretty lucky with the Moon Pearl placement. Actually, oh no, actually I think MrByer kind of got unlucky with it. It's a bit hard to characterize, but this looks like it should be a good series for the remaining games. And it looks like MrByer is going to finish this out. Is in go mode. Still has to climb Ganon's tower again. Unfortunately, or not again, but has to re-enter Ganon's tower to do so. So it's gonna basically do everything in the game without the Tempered Sword, and then finally get it for Ganon, which Ganon really is the best boss to have it on if you're gonna choose. I'm actually a little surprised MrByer doesn't open those two chests looking for a sword. I was kind of thinking about why he opened the chests leaving Swamp, why he is willing to risk getting the big key when not in Swamp properly. And I realized that if he got only flippers out of Hype Cave and there was a bow in the front of Swamp, maybe he would have had access to that bow a little bit earlier. Rather than deciding to maybe go somewhere else if he didn't have the bow to put him in go mode, just theoretically. And like the only bad situation you can get into at that point with getting that big key is if bow is in Swamp Big Chest and it's locking the other bow. Okay, so MrByer is going to clip into Venus Tower again. Having the big key already is going to be able to go straight up to the top. I hope that he opens the Moldorm 2 chest. Given that he skipped the swamp chests that he was near, which is a little surprising. I wonder if he'll open the chest in the GT climb. I mostly find it harder to imagine that he wouldn't do that. I say I hope he opens it, but also mostly for his sake, I wouldn't mind seeing a Master Sword gaining. I enjoy that kind of stuff. So, picking on the Gauntlet Rooms is just the Master Sword. Using Fire Rod for a couple of the tougher enemies to go here. One of the things that makes Gauntlet 4 not too bad is that you can sometimes slash the red Zezx into spikes to get a gold sword hit, like he did with the first one. Yeah, the sword difference looks here. GG's Nash, by the way. But it's that he didn't do the GT climb until now, so he didn't get the sword from Moldorm 2. MrByer's go mode was Depot and Flip Prison Hype Cave. And hadn't stepped foot into Pod yet, so didn't get the sword from the Dark Maze. And probably didn't want to try to mimic Clip in his tower. So the sword difference is not going to end up too much at the end, but he has just delayed the Moldorm 2 one until the very end. So I think what really made one of the big differences, the biggest difference in this race was MrByer got the Moon Pearl. I want to guess like 20 minutes later or so. Not entirely sure on the time, but he did a lot of first did a Bunny Citrus DMD and tried to Super Bunny a lot of the houses for Moon Pearl, Skullwoods, and then did a lot of fake fluting to get Link State to open up a bunch of entrances, but leaving Hype Cave for a very surprisingly long time also. So he actually he found the cane a lot earlier than you did, and it made Meyer smoother for him. And he did T-Rock checks earlier, but that didn't really help very much. He also had a few boss tests. Cost about 5 minutes. But the difference in finding move pearls actually made the race. The Zora DMA play, get to that area was interesting. That helped you get the moon pearl. I don't know how a lot of glitched players feel about things, or route generally. Seems a lot more variance in people's styles, but I had the impression that deciding to do DDM is kind of tough. If you have Super Bunny open but not Hookshot Cave, like you kind of want to try and stall a bit until you have Hookshot Cave access. Basically just needing Pearl to use the hookshot in this case. Okay, MrByer gets Torch Glitch, and then gets a freeze. Oh, I think maybe it was going for a cape spin out of it, I'm not sure. Oh, that was going to be a tough hit to land from that position, from that time. All right, and he's got Gain It Down. Get your GGs in chat for MrByer. Finishing as the runner-up in this race. And finishes with a race time of 1:47.17. So about 13 minutes behind. But I think there's a lot of variance in this mode. And like I said earlier, I think both of the racers should... I think he's going to come in for interview. And we have MrByer now. GG's. So how are you feeling about that? I think one of the biggest deciders was getting the Moon Pearl pretty late, but you did a lot of interesting things searching Dark World for it.
Yeah, I think it's just my execution was just exceptionally bad this season.
I didn't notice it standing out except for the bosses. The bosses were a pretty big thing.
I think it was just tilting me. I kept playing worse. It felt that way.
Yeah, it always feels pretty bad in the moment. The Moon Pearl really made the difference though, so I think at least there's that. The boss deaths were more just kind of adding onto it. So they didn't really cost you the race per se. Nash also had done Hype Cave a lot earlier, so had the bow, did the GT climb, got that sword. Other sword was left side of pod, which you were in go mode at that point, so I didn't have a reason to get it. So this was game 1, correct?
Yeah, this is game
1. Okay, well, so we have game 2 on Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. How are you feeling about that one? Just like mainly hoping it goes better than this time.
Hopefully I'll have warmed up by then and be like more focused. I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, I felt like watching the two of you, you were pretty you're pretty similar in knowledge and execution of glitches. And I think more of the execution mistakes from you came out later in the seed. But for a lot of it, it was pretty hard to tell who was going to win. He took a long time to get to Village of Outcasts for the cane, so that was his go mode. There was kind of no good reason for him to go there either, so it was still interesting for most of it. And is there anything else that you want to mention?
So.
Sorry, I couldn't really hear you if you said anything.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, fun to see people race in this tournament. And good luck to both of you on the next match. In 2 hours, we've got my match against Sleepy, game 2. And I'm also in the position where I'm saying that hopefully that goes better for me than the last one. And let's see. Tomorrow we have Zeke Highwind versus Dawn Venier at 9 p.m. Eastern. So I think we're going to wrap up. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. Hopefully we'll see you for the next match in 2 hours.